There are three different ski slopes pictured here, slope A, B, and C. They each get different ratings corresponding to either the green circle, the blue square, or the black diamond, depending on the difficulty of that particular slope. And what we'll find is that typically the difficulty is going to be corresponding to the steepness of the slopes. So if we wanted to compare each of these different slopes with one another, it brings into question whether or not there is some sort of way that we can actually measure this idea of steepness. And it turns out that there is, and what we'd want to use is we want to use the slopes of each of these hills. And so what we need to know to be able to determine the slope of something is we need to know the overall horizontal distance that's traveled from a point to a point, and then also from that point to the point, the vertical distance, so that we can compare to see how many units of rise there are for every particular unit of run. And so we're going to need to know some measurements. So from this point of the hill to that point of the hill, then this horizontal distance down here does end up being 3,300 feet. And then we have a rise, a complete vertical distance there of 1,190 feet. And then for these other hills here, we've got a horizontal distance there of 3,000 feet, and then a rise of 1,180 feet. And then finally for the last one there, we've got a run there of 3,500 feet, and then a rise of 1,150 feet. So what you want to be able to do to be able to compare these steepnesses is you want to take the amount of rise and divide it by the units of run, and you'll see what we'll get and how that kind of makes sense here. So for slope A here, I'm going to compute the slope of this hill by taking the vertical distance of 1,190 feet and dividing it by 3,300 feet. And so when we do so, we're going to get a decimal that'll just kind of approximate right here. It's approximately 0.36. So what that means, so the meaning of this is that for every 1 unit of run, there is 0.36 units of rise, because 0.36 is really 0.36 over 1, so that top number 0.36 is going to tell you the amount of rise, and the bottom number tells you the amount of run. And so we could do a similar sort of thing for these other hills as well. So we take 1,180 and we divide that by 3,000. We end up getting about 0.39 for that. And then the last one, we'll need to take the rise of 1,150, divide that by 3,500. And that is approximately 0.32. So now that we've computed the slopes of each of these hills now, ultimately we want to be able to determine which one's going to get the green circle and the blue square and the black diamond. And so it turns out that the one that's the largest is 0.39, and so that one is going to actually be the steepest, because for every 1 unit of run, it vertically rises more, so that right there should receive the black diamond, whereas the easiest of the hills would have the least slope, so 0.32, the least amount of rise for every unit of run, which therefore, of course, leaves slope A, which has a slope kind of somewhere in between, to be the hill with the blue square then.